Lesson 11-3, Rates. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to write and use rates, as well as find the unit rate or unit price. Make sure you have your pencil and paper ready so you can work right along with me. So the first definition you need to write down is rate. That's a ratio that compares two quantities with different units of measure. So that's when you're comparing hours to dollars, gallons to dollars. It's when you're comparing two units that can't be converted into each other. So minute and hours, those would not be a rate because you can always convert minutes into hours. The second vocabulary word is unit rate. That is a rate that has one unit as its second term or denominator. Let's take a look at the first question. It says Moya ran 18 miles at a steady pace in 3 hours. Her average speed can be expressed in a ratio, and that looks like this. So there are 3 different ways that ratio can be written. The first one is written as a fraction, and it's 18 miles over 3 hours. The second one here has a colon, and it's 18 miles to 3 hours. The last one looks more like a sentence, 18 miles in 3 hours. So to find how many miles Moya ran in 1 hour, which would be x, that's our unknown, we need to use equivalent ratios. So we would use our fraction here that says 18 miles over 3 hours, and then we would put equals and a fraction. We need to make sure that we're going to keep the same units on each side. So on top we have miles. So our miles need to be the numerator over here as well. So that would be x miles because we don't know how many miles. And it would be over 1 hour. Now we have our ratio set up here, so we can simplify that by taking off the units for now, and we put 18 over 3, and we're going to divide each of these by 3. So we would divide the top by 3 and the bottom by 3. And that would give us 6 over 1. So she ran 6 miles in 1 hour. And that would be our unit rate. We can also use rates to figure out how much individual items cost when they're packaged in a bulk. So if we have 4 pins that cost $2.20 and we want to know how much one pin would cost, we can also set that up as a ratio, and that would look like this. We would have our 4 pins over the cost, which is $2.20. So in order to figure that out, we want to know how much one pin is. So 1 pin, and then we put P because we don't know how much that costs for the price. So then in order to figure that out, we would say 4 over 220, and we would divide them each by 4 because that's what we know. That it's also, this is what we're trying to figure out, and we know the 4 here. So we're going to divide 4, so divided by 4 and divided by 4 on each of them, and then that would give us 1 over 55 cents. So I can write that like this. So 1 pin would cost 55 cents. Okay, I want you to try this one on your own. If we have 12 books in 2 cartons, how many books would be in 1 carton? So pause the video and work that out, and then check your work with me. All right, so in order to figure that out, we look at this just like a fraction. So we have 12 over 2. If we reduce that down to, we're going to divide them both by 2. and that would equal 6. So there would be 6 books in one carton. So remember, we're setting these ratios up because they have different units, and we're just figuring out what unit we're going to use, but we're reducing these and working them out just like we would a fraction. So take a look at this one. If something goes 9 feet in 18 hours, how many feet would they go in how many hours? So this one, I know at first you go, well, I don't know either of these on the right-hand side because they've given me 2 variables. But remember what I said is just look at this like a fraction. So if we look at it like a fraction, we have 9 over 18. When we reduce that, we would get 1 over 2 because we're dividing them both by 2. 9 goes into 9 one time, and 9 goes into 18 2 times. So our final answer there would be 1 foot every 2 hours. Make sure that you rewatch any part of this video before you head off and do today's lesson.